Hello, so today I want to talk about how to balance writing with having a day job and dealing with all the other adult responsibilities that come with living in the world. All right, so you've decided that you are going to be a writer. So the next thing you do is quit your day job and put in a good couple years of hard work, and then you're going to get your work out to the world and make a bunch of money, and everything's going to be awesome. Oof, I wish it was that easy. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. And quitting your job when you decide you want to be a writer is a really bad idea. Getting something published is so hard and it's so out of your control. There's so many factors that go into determining which book gets published, when, and a lot of that you don't really have a say in. You could have written a phenomenal novel, but it just wasn't written in the right time and place, and there's just not a market for it. And you could have an agent say, this is fantastic, but they just don't see a lot of potential for this right now. There's just really not a market for what you're writing. I think we all would love to be Neil Gaiman and get to visit our little writing cottage every day, sit at a computer or typewriter and just get to write whenever we want. But that is kind of a fantasy. It can definitely happen and you definitely want to work towards that. But I wouldn't set your hopes too high. I would try to be more of a realist if you are setting out to be a writer. So here's a few things that I think are helpful once you have decided I'm going to be a writer and I'm going to have to also work a day job as well. So one thing you might want to think about doing is actually lowering your life standards just a little bit, where you are content with the idea of, let's just say, working in a cafe and writing on the side for the rest of your life. You can decide that you would be okay with that, then suddenly the bar is pretty low for success. And then if you can go beyond that eventually, that would be amazing. But if you can just get yourself to be content with that scenario, then you can be happy. And if you go beyond that, the feeling of triumph will just be that much better. Another thing that I think is useful is to think of writing as a privilege. Think about the fact that not everyone knows how to write, and that you do, sets you apart in some way. It's something that you're lucky that you know how to do. So feel blessed that you can sit down after your long day of work and actually write, and that you're able to do that and find enjoyment in just the act of doing it itself. That's not a given. So always take a step back and just appreciate the fact that you get to write. So life is going to get in the way of your writing one way or another. It always does. It always sneaks up on you when you least expect it. And that can make writing quite difficult. You can start out with these big, grand ideas and dreams for all these novels and stories you want to write. And suddenly you find life getting in the way and things are slowing down. And you're like, how am I ever going to write all these things that I want to write? What I would recommend is don't focus so much on these big projects that you want to accomplish. Maybe narrow it down to one story, and you want to tell one story. And if you could tell that story really well and spend your entire life writing it, and then you reach the end of your life and you finish the story, that is success in a way. So if you can kind of set that standard for yourself, then you're going to be in much better shape when all the difficulties of life do come calling. And also, you're going to end up probably writing way more than that if you do manage to still be productive through all of that. So you're going to transcend your standards, so to speak, and you're going to be better off in the long run. But I would set those big, lofty, grand ambitions aside and just focus on telling one story and be okay with the fact that you could spend your entire life telling that story. And if you finish it sooner, great, move on to the next one. But if you don't, that's totally okay. So once you've accepted that you're going to have to work a day job for a while and you're going to have to deal with everything in life that everyone else has to deal with, then it's probably best to embrace that. Get interested in other things. You know, maybe try cooking, maybe train to run a marathon, learn how to play tennis or racquetball or croquet, all sorts of things you could get into, and spend time with other people, and, you know, work your day job, and then find time through all of that to write, because all of that's going to inform your writing as well. And it's just going to make you better at the end of the day. And really what you want through all of this is just to be as at ease with everything as possible, while also being as productive as possible. And again, being productive doesn't mean finishing a bunch of novels and getting a bunch of books published and making a ton of money. It simply means having the right perspective and feeling, again, a sense of privilege and joy that you get to sit down and write as often as you are able to, and have a story in mind and keep working at it and just don't stop, and then see what happens. A lot of the other good things that can happen to a writer are kind of out of their control, but those things you can control, so I would focus on those. You know, in the grand scheme of things, there's really only a small percentage of writers who quote unquote make it. So what you need to do is, you know, really have a good perspective that will enable you to keep seeing yourself as a writer, even if those ideas we have about what a successful writer is don't actually happen to you. And there's such a small handful of writers whose work actually gets out to the world where everybody can read it. But think about how much that does improve the world. And in order for writers to make the world better, there can only be a small selection that actually gets out there. If everybody was successful, there would be too much out there and we would be overwhelmed by all of the amazing content. And so the natural way of things is for a small number of people to succeed and everyone else to fail. You are fulfilling your part in the natural way of things if you don't actually succeed, and find peace and solace in that idea. So that's about all I've got for this video. I did get some good ideas myself for a story I'm working on, so I think I'm gonna go visit my desk and try to do a little writing and see where that goes. But hope you enjoyed this video, hope you found it helpful. And if you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've said it before, but that definitely does help me out. And again, just keep writing, don't give up, have fun, find the right perspective. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll see you next time.